morning. This is Coach T, Tommy Halstead, also known to all my attendees on our stream this morning as Professor Tom, Professor Halstead, just plain Coach T, Tommy. This is a hopefully quick recap of Decision 3 from our Topaz team, which is in November, so that's a birthstone for November. And this team has reached their third decision, and this is a very crucial decision. So I have a group of folks, not only from our text group that has texted me, but also we have our live chat today. Hi, shout out to everybody. Hi, hello. Hi, Darren. Hi, Bill. Hi, Jim. Sharon. We've got a whole bunch of folks today on our live stream chat because I've included not only our current class, but some former classes, and also brought in um, a lot of my other teaching and students and tutoring. So those who know my kind of situation with GCU and Harvard and Purdue, I wear my Purdue hat, by the way. I also have, of course, I have to give a shout out, dropping all my papers here, to my Harvard folks and friends, including I'm tutoring two Harvard Business 500, Math 500 students, my University of Scripps Clinic, University of California, GCU, Grand Canyon, and Purdue today. These are the various stories of my life. We have hundreds and hundreds when I was with GE of these different universities and school systems we've worked with over the years to help them with their programs in mathematics, and simulation. And I've also worked on my doctorate at Scripps, PhD in mathematics and supercomputing and calculation computing, year of doctorate in business administration at GCU, where I'm also teaching now. And part of our Harvard Sim here, the model simulation for Topaz, is through GCU/Harvard. And then, of course, Purdue, where I'm working on my doctorate in education and have lots of good friends in Purdue also as tutoring students, as well as my regular classes. Also, shout out to all my varsity students who are here. I have 55 different students currently that I tutor individually or in classes. I got several classes of 25 to 30 where I teach on nerdy or varsity. Mostly data science classes, data visualization, mathematic modeling, economics, etc. And my tutoring students are everything from everywhere. I actually have a couple elementary school, gifted and talented, as well as a few special needs. But most of my students, my tutoring students, are range from early high school, 8th grade, up to postdoctorate, graduate, master's students who are working in specific areas of model simulation where they need help, especially in mathematics, higher mathematics, um, mathematics of economics modeling, statistics, probability. We have a lot of chemistry with the inequalities and probability, a lot of physics, and then advanced math. So a lot of AP students in Canada, the US, some globally, a lot of students in Canada. But hi to yes, hello. Hello, someone's saying hi to my future self. Yes, this is a live stream right now, but you'll probably be watching it on YouTube. I also have some of my YouTube followers from several of my channels. But you can, if you want to see other instances, you can check out uh, Data Viz Prof or Data Sci Prof, DATASCIPROF.com. And you can see some of our data science classes and some of the other things that we're working on the tutoring side. I also have classes through Varsity as well as the universities that are whole groups of people that then do individual tutoring, not always with myself, but with other tutors. There's 20,000 tutors there, depending on the topic. But those classes are in probability statistics, data science, a lot of the math, practical business courses, because there's two sides to modeling. One is mathematical modeling, which is finance, economics, geopolitics, everything. And then modeling mathematics, which is the educational side, where you're using model simulation to get into the math versus the math getting into the models. So without further ado, let me jump into our in chat. Yep, yes, Ask as many questions you want. Yes, I already have my first question. Let me share my screen. So the first place we're going to go on our screen share, as usual, is biz485.com, bus485.com. Uh, this is pages 1, 2, 3, 4 are past, uh, a lot of different past simulations we've done, different decisions, how to ace the class. Professor Paul, our course lead, Paul Waterman, YouTubes I have with him, supply demand, and a lot of those other things that help with the model. This is specifically on decision three because decision three is a crucial middle decision between one, two, and four and five, where you've now gotten to learn the sim, you've learned more about it, you're doing comparisons, but you're also having the usual growing pains of figuring it out as well as making really good decisions. So I'm going to focus today on quickly a swap we had in this decision three, which was you can see yellow team took a nosedive down to last place. Blue team jumped up to first place, and red stayed kept on course. And there's a lot of explanation for this, and I've kind of warned our students through many classes. Yes, my chat is saying, yeah, yeah, there it is. Yeah, the there it is that I said that you could be last through almost the whole stem and still win it at the end because you came up in some of these, we have three teams, five teams, seven teams with up to seven people on them. This is Topaz is an amazing partnership group of teams, one of the smallest, closest knit group I've had with several partners doing the teams. So it's really cool, actually. But where you end up has got a lot to do with how much studying and work you do and how much modeling you do on your own, how much of the simulation you dig into and how much research you do, how many numbers you crunch. It all comes down to that because all of life is a stream of data. We've got all this data coming in and we make decisions based on that. So there's everything from sort of ignorance where we're too tired to look at something and some data falls through the cracks up to mysteries and mysticism where there's a certain amount of data we're never going to know. Spiritual folks call it mysticism. Scientists, we call it mysteries. Either way, I work with both and I believe in both. So yeah, we can do the mysticism side of feeling our humility in the universe, or we can do the fun mystery side. Let's solve this mystery together, figure it out. But in either case, we're the very tip of the iceberg of what's really there. And that's the same as the sim. There's a huge amount of data here we'll never get to, but we can either make informed decisions or, kind of spitball it and try it, or we can kind of know more what we're doing as we go along. Hopefully that's what's happening with the sim. So these places have been swapped because for a lot of reasons, and we're close. They're all really close, so we can go up or down as we get to the end. But the important thing truly isn't winning or losing at the end of this. It's the experience. And for your final grades for anyone who's on here that's actually in this class, we have a lot of, yes, I know, my chat is going crazy with what happened with yellow. Okay, yeah, I don't know if I've got a yellow person on here or not. I've got a lot of text from them, but essentially when you get to this course is heavy, that this particular course at Harvard slash Grand Canyon is very heavily loaded with endpoints at the end of class. So what's happening here is what you need to put in your final papers. That's why you got all these slides. You've got every decision you get 20, 30 slides of all kinds of stuff that went into it. Just pull those. You don't have to reinvent. We do all the work to get these slides to you. So just use them in your final papers, presentations, etc. to say, here's how we corrected our course. Here's what happened. Here's what we try to do different. And if you end up in the whodunit room because you're last, it's like, hey, that's not a problem. You can still get an A in the course. You just have to say, what course corrections did you make? What would you do different in the future? And just be honest. I mean, say, I wish I'd watched more of the videos, or, wow, I wish I knew I could reset the price. We have crazy stuff going on like that all the time where people like, I didn't even realize that. I didn't watch the video. I didn't know I could actually even raise the price on low cost. But anyway, so let's jump into now. I've done something different. If you look at the slides here, I keep saying follow trends. Are they leading or are they lagging? What's happening with trends? And I keep getting questions like, well, coach, I looked at like the trends in these trend lines where I saw the white going up and then down, and we're saying, is that a leading or a lagging indicator? And where is it going next? Is it going up or is it going down? It's like, folks, no, these are not the sliders. They don't work that way. When I say leading and lagging indicators, I'm talking about one slide versus another, like this, one period versus another, because the direction is up and down. It's not back and forth. When you're going right, you're going into different parameters on the sliders here. So you're looking at, design, performance, comfort, robustness, size, technology, consumption, which is the more consumption, the higher the slider, the better the gas mileage. Don't forget that. Yeah, that's a hint. The number of models in your novelty. So, and on the marketing sliders, it's, you know, you, they're all first three are dealers, the proximity, the purchase experience, and then after the sale. So, how close are they to get to, what's it like dealing with them there? And then how are they if after sales follow up? And then your model brands, the power of your model brands. So, if you have a lot of different brands, a lot of models, what kind of brand power are you putting into those? That's your marketing side. So to spend a lot of money on marketing in the wrong place will get you that gap between lost orders and inventory. You're spending too much on marketing, you're not producing enough, or you're not matching the customer's needs. So now this is important because when I say follow the trends, these are not right and left trends, they're up and down trends. So you need to take several periods, like this is 2 periods here, and see what happened to the white line. Did customers prefer um, comfort a little more and low cost than they did the previous period? It's like, wait, you can't have a preference of one changing in a period. Yes, you can. As you invest in these things, it also changes perceptions to an extent. We don't always look at the perception line, but it's important not for making our decisions, but seeing the trends. And that then ties into where does demand come from and how do we forecast it and what's going to happen next period. So that all works together. But so you have to take several of these periods together. First periods don't have a lot of white line because there's no market trends. It hasn't bumped its head against competition or against the market, the decisions that you made. Here that has. So as you start to get towards the end, the last two decisions, here's a big clue. Look at these white lines, not only where they've gone here and your gaps, how you're missing it and how to match it, but also what happened to them from here to here to here to here, four decisions and then five, in terms of how have their perceptions changed and how their wants and needs changed out in the market because of what you engineered and announced and launched. So the change is happening up in here, and that's up and down. That's where the trend's happening. Of course, where the rubber hits the road is what are you doing with that in terms of engineering? How are you following that? And if you're under investing, you had your sliders down and look at this. These are all the sliders sit around 5 to 6. So if you're jumping up to 8 or 9, you can in some parameters because this is just one. This is just blue with low cost because that was the big change this time. So I wanted to highlight that compared to their first thing. But the then you have to look at a series of these. The series are up at the top here where you look at what are the past decisions that were made and what are those. I've thrown a few in here to show you. This is decision one. Here's what happened to decision one. Let's just watch, let's look at one thing. Let's look at yellow and image. And the first decision, yellow is a dominating image, and yellow has dominated the sim for 2 runs now, right? You look at this 27-26 is our second one. Oh my gosh, what happened to yellow? Its dominance dropped in image and it took a huge dive in where everyone skewers themselves in low cost. Everyone kills themselves in low cost. Red is doing much better because it killed itself less in these four. Blue has jumped up to the top because look what's happened to them in image compared to the competitors. It's always comparison. Then we go back down to the current decision and what happened. Everybody's done a little okay in image, but yellow's massive gain in image has been eaten away. So they made some decisions in image that were problematic. You look at what happened in, oh goodness, low cost, yellow got killed compared to, so you've got to toggle back and forth. You've got to look at all the three and what happened decision one, two, and three to yellow, let's say if you're the yellow team, in low cost. And why did that happen? Then you go back to those sliders and say, what did I do in those sliders? What are the trends there from white line to white line to white line? What did the market do? How did it respond? And all of a sudden, you're getting a real feel for the demand side and for EBIT, which drives it. And of course, the other factor we always talk about is lost orders over inventory. How are you producing? How are you supplying? You have to look at that. So it's both the corporate decisions and the budget decisions. And I'm finding that some of the teams, there's only one out of these three teams that actually looking at the budget and changing the budget boxes. They're not just there for model, they also drive your forecast for demand. So look at under corporate, look at, yeah, the final thing, your loan and your cash flow. We had two, actually, you'll see two cash flow loans where two of the teams required government assistance this time. And the reason, one of the reasons for this big jump and switch is that Blue didn't. Blue got into some positive territory. So what happened with Blue? What happened with Blue, especially where people get killed, are in low cost and in eco. Now we're coming up to the point in the fourth and fifth decisions where they will produce a little more, but family and image have been your go-tos. The teams that do great and that wipe it out and get positive are all positive up in these two, and they have only a little negative back here. So you'll see what Blue did right is that they they are in family, they are kind of almost or sort of positive, which yellow is too. So that's really, I mean, or were too in the first decision. So then you've got to follow this to now watch family, and watch family compared to low cost. Okay. Boom. What happened to yellow here in family? Oh my goodness, they got killed, but blue stayed okay. So there's a swap going on between blue and yellow, right? Well, we see the results of it now. And what happened here? Let's toggle back and forth. From decision one, look at blue. Decision two, look at blue. Okay, blue got killed more than previously, but let's look at what happened now in this decision. Bam, they fixed it. Blue fixed that problem they had in low cost. And I'm going to get all kinds of flack saying you've been on the phone and you've been on a text and everything with Blue a lot. There's a lot of Blue members, or a couple, not a lot. There's a couple. The Blue members have been asking a lot of questions, and I'm answering. But I also put in messages in chat, and I mean, I put it everywhere. Yes, I know I'm getting clicks. Chat is asking me questions here too. They're asking, why, oh, why don't you talk to me about me? What about red? Well, let's look at the 300. Now you can do this, compare these because they're all up here in the top. All the previous decisions and all the slider decisions are there. You can look at this compared to the slider before we get into lost orders over inventory. So, all right, red. What's going on with red? First decision with red. Red was completely, everybody was underwater except for blue and yellow, right? Red was bleeding a lot less in low cost. They made a lot less decisions. They spent a lot less CapEx and spent a lot of less engineering and marketing because it's an early line and all the videos said don't kill yourself in eco or low cost. Well, here's one person blue that killed himself in both eco and low cost. So red did really good there, but then by decision, now watch red here, especially in low cost and family. They Where was Red's flagship? Let's look at the second decision. You can see that Red deepened losses here and here, but stayed kind of okay with low cost. Now let's look at this last decision. Boom, what happened to red? They got destroyed, absolutely. And so did yellow in low cost. And eco didn't do a lot better, but they were positive in image. So image, the sad part of this is blue has done better in family now, but red in family, red was really trending to make family and image their two flagships, but they had some big drops in lost orders over inventory with building inventory by over marketing above that 100% level. And you can see the marketing differences on your sliders because you can see where's the gap between what you did and what the market did. And if you're below it, you're underspending. If you're above where you're above it, you're underspending. Or I mean, it's the other way around. Yeah, well, what did I say? Yeah, you're underspending because you have to spend a little more to get those sliders up, and if you're way over here, you're overspending. So that gap in your sliders is very similar to your gap in lost order over inventory. Are your orders and sales hitting each other? So you can see how marketing is very related to not only demand, but also to CapEx and how you're investing in your production, as well as this customer's needs. So we're talking about value proposition, value need, and then we jump over to value in the budgeting, and that ties back to CapEx. What are we making, how are we making what we need to make? So we've kind of looked at those, we've looked at the standings, and I've got the financials to go over here. I'm not going to cover all the financials because you can look at them and see very clearly in the red and especially blue what happened to red, not only red and blue teams, but the red and blue indicators here. What happened if you want to see what happened with yellow in terms of their crash and burn of demand compared to sales, and this and let's see, is this low cost? Yeah. Okay, but anyway, so you can see each one of these in terms of the car lines and how everybody did on each one and where the red flags are. And this gives you the complete financial picture of what happened with the cash flows in all the three teams. And red kind of stayed even, but still had some problems matching supply and demand. And we'll see what that's about. Let's jump right away into our LOI. And I think I did eco first. Yeah, I did eco first. Okay, because remember what happened in eco with EBIT. Uh, is anybody doing well in eco on matching supply and demand? Blue is like, Blue is doing better. They went from a huge number of lost orders to almost no lost orders. So they did a great matching job. Red dropped their inventory back towards here. The crash and burn in lost stores over inventory is yellow. They were getting closer to zero, and all of a sudden they had a huge problem with investing in engineering marketing that they did not do production on CapEx. So yellow truly got into CapEx trouble. You can see that in the financials, and that's why we had that huge. The swap is the swap, you know. I mean, if you look at that's slide 7 versus slide 1 and say, wow, wait a minute, slide 7, which one was I looking at? Blue, red, yellow, blue. You know, I mean, and red was doing better here, and red stayed. It's like stayed the course on 0. So, okay, let's jump to 8. Which car line? This was eco. Let's see if I've got, because the other big one is well, I'm trying to highlight where someone did better. Yeah, look at blue and family. I mean, blue is doing much, much better in family in terms of the series of decisions of lost orders over inventory trying to get closer to 0. So that's family. If you just look at the sides, this is slide 8. And then we say, blue and family. What happened, blue and family? Blue and family. Look at that. Blue's not bad in family. Wow, blue's not bad at all in family. Now what happens? Blue is still not bad in family. So, and you can say, okay, when these things do crash and burn, it really is reflected in LOI. So you can really see what's going on in terms of lesser inventory for red. So red is staying in the middle, but the huge crash in eco, where yellow dropped all that down. Let's see, let's 7 versus 2, yellow, and where are we at with, we got gas family, eco, and then who's doing so well there in eco? Oh, blue's doing real well in eco. So let's go back to 7, and yeah, blue's doing really well. This is eco. Okay. Eco Blue is doing much better, and look what happened. Look how much closer they are to 0. So these are really, really good indicators of what's going on. Oh, sorry, here's my reminder. All right, let's get down to what we on 7. Let's go up to 8. Yeah, here's family. Okay, again, blue. Hats off to blue in terms of stabilizing this. But what happened with red and yellow? Red is dropping their inventory down, but yellow had leveled off their lost orders but didn't bring it up. So the problem, and families is really a moneymaker for us at this stage, usually in 3. So that's where we're having a huge issue. And comparing 8 to 1. Where is blue on this? Look at blue, what happened 8 to 1 and one of our cash flow things. That's where our swap happened, this stayed in the middle, but looking from period to period, what happened with red in terms of them staying stable on it. So again, there's such a great connection there between lost orders and inventory compared to your EBIT and then your financials. It's so important to match that CapEx. So are we finally to image? Yeah, image. All right, image is, we've got a huge problem with image in inventory, although yellow still continues. It was yellow's Flagstaff, but now you can see that they're getting into some lost orders. So their engineering match to CapEx degenerated a little, but not terribly. So you might want to say, yeah, blue is building inventory but red is dropping inventory down. So blue and red on slide 9 compared to 2, there's the story right there. We had we had really great results in image traditionally as we look at all the slides, but you can see what's happening with the other lines of the portfolio compared to image. These normally by this stage in the sim are way, way up here. Family is normally quite a bit up here. And yes, we do see plunges usually not this deep in because by decision 3, usually low cost has been backed off on. You're not doing a huge amount of marketing low cost um, to find only that you're not getting the orders. But generally family is better on LOI. Let's see where are we at. 10. All right, what is 10? Low cost. Low cost is interesting in terms of trying to match it. Again, we have a big lost inventory. The whole yellow really had the biggest problem in CapEx and spending on production here, and we could look at that in the financials more closely. But all right, yeah, I'm getting questions of why did blue jump up so much? Well, there's a crossover here between blue and yellow, um, sort of fighting for the bottom. And some of this fighting for the bottom stuff where you cross over is all about the what is going on with revenue. So you'll have to look at the revenue line and say what's been driven by marketing, but then what's also having with lost orders as they get their act together on inventory. So, but Yellow had major problems in all those. Let's see, are we into the sliders? Yeah, now I'm not going to take everybody through all the sliders, but the important thing to remember as you look at the sliders is what are the gaps between the market and between what the market wants and between what you're doing. And you don't want, it's just like lost orders over inventory if you consider this a zero, but you also have to look at what does the market want in terms of your actual parameter, line by line by line. So what is this, let's just say, what is the 5 line of level compared to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh, the seventh parameter. That is the seventh parameter is consumption, right? So I wonder what model line this is. I'm not pressing it or showing it to you. I want you to guess. Eco, right? This is eco, and we're talking about most likely, if you look at the EBITS blue team and eco, I would guess. I'm not telling you these answers. You can figure them out by looking at what's going on. But consumption is important, but it's more important. It's closer and closer to a 6. And you'll see that a lot of things sit down between 4 and 5 in a lot of these lines until you get to image. Then it's all of a sudden a lot of 6s and 7s. You figured that out by now, that what goes up and what goes down. By decision 4, you shouldn't have a lot of breathing air between here and here or between here and here where you're overspending, and you'll see that in some of these others, or between up and down of inventory versus lost orders and capex. So that is the secret sauce to this sim, and this is why we don't give this much detail at the beginning. So because you have to learn it, you have to try it and see what happens, and then get a feel for those sliders. All right, now here we have an issue where now remember, these trends are going up and down from period to period, not here. So if you look across here, you're just looking at different parameters. You're not looking at a trend. But the gaps are serious and true. If somebody's got the second parameter, and we're not going to talk about what every one of these is, you can figure them out as you look. But obviously, there somebody thought that performance was going to be really important up into the area of almost the 8 or the 9. And it's almost never an 8 or a 9 in anything in terms of the white line until in image, there's a couple that might be 7 plus, but look at these. They're all fives and six. So when I keep saying make small changes, don't wipe your way up to two, way down to two, or way up to six or seven. You have to be careful because that's when you're spending a huge amount, and then you're driving capex with it in those parameters. So, um, all right, let's hop up here. Now you can see this is interesting because you can see sort of staying below but staying really close. And one, two, three, one, two, three, four, I have these kind of memorized, but I don't want to go, hey, that's size, I know it, because I'll get it wrong and then I'll really feel dumb. Oh, okay, somebody's saying, everybody in chat is trying to guess what it is. It's like, don't, okay, just guess what it is and figure it out. But see, you can see this is kind of a trend, but not a trend of this direction, a trend of what's happening above and below between in terms of what the customers want. And if you look at the white line over time, you'll see that this actually changes. Their needs and desires change. It's not always the same white line, right? How can it possibly change? It changes because you influence it. The market, the price, your engineering, it all affects the white line too, not just this. So you have to kind of look at the progression of all the white lines and all your lines in each of these parameters, and that gives you a real clue of things like comfort here. Like, okay, I want more comfort than you're giving me here. Well, gosh, who wants more comfort? Why did I spend less on that? And is this size? Size must be, all right, one, two, three, four, five. One, two, three, four. Yeah, this is size. Okay. Six, seven, there's a big gap there, which is in consumption. So you're like, okay, we're not going to give you a whole lot of fuel economy because that costs a lot of money. So it's tragic if that's family, isn't it? There's some tragedies there. All right, so again, here's one where we consistently underspend throughout the whole thing, except for, and this isn't a trend in time, this is a trend in parameters. So one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. We know nine is what, novelty, so this must be model numbers. We're doing really good model numbers. We're not over under slidering or spending either in CapEx or there. So again, these are how you look at each of those parameters, where you set them, and to leave them all completely flat and not touch them is you're just you're going to completely kill yourself. You have to have some changes and you have to try to match the market. Same thing with dealership experience, etc. It's valued obviously more in family than it is in image. So that will continue. You can look at the over underspend of each team in each model. So all the teams and all the models are here. You can figure out the teams easily or the models ED, or you can look at your own and see your own and see what's going on and then look at what's happening with the competitors and see where you can spend to kind of do better with the market line than the competition is doing. That's a very, very interesting line because you can see very little variability except for that's got to be consumption. Is that consumption? Novelty, number of models? Yeah, that's consumption. So somebody's doing a really good job in matching one of them in, but overspending in others in eco. It's so easy to overspend in eco because you're trying to be something major there. More overspending, but close, not too bad. Wow, this is very interesting. This is consistently overspend and underspend and overspend and underspend. This is sort of the trend here of the gaps. I'm not looking at the sine curve. I'm looking at the up and down inflection points here, the second derivative, where what's the gap between there? And this is, this is if you want to call it negative or positive, a positive gap or negative gap, positive, negative, equal. So is that size again? One, two, three, four, five. Yeah, it's size again. So again, we have a good meeting of the minds inside, but this is sort of a trend that actually does work here by looking at the gaps where you're saying decision after decision after decision, how close am I coming to match it? And I'm not, this is not critical. You're doing fine. Yeah, does the ending matter? Well, no, 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 no. I just keep trying to emphasize when I'm talking about leading and lagging, I'm looking at several periods of looking at these, not the shape of this line other than the gaps. The shape of this line does not tell you the trend is happening going up in the whole area. It's only saying this is just novelty. It's only one parameter because that's what it's measuring. So wow, this is consistently a huge amount, I bet, of lost orders because you're hugely spending in marketing where they don't actually want it. So the demand's going to be down. And if you're also over engineering there, you're building a huge amount of inventory up. So yeah, and you're also not getting the orders. I mean, you're getting the orders, but you're not getting the sales with your CapEx side of it. So anyway, that's kind of the recap for today for decision three. Um, I have a couple instructors on here, and one keeps saying the same thing. One of my Harvard young ladies, which is, what is TMI? TMI, am I giving TMI? No, I'm not. I get accused of spoon feeding by giving you this much data. What I find team after team after team is that I have the people who teach ground in undergrads, um, don't like the way that I teach this. They're saying you're giving way too much information. And the truth is, I'm dealing with working adults who have a lot of experience in the business world. And on one hand, they grasp this faster because they're dealing with it every day in their jobs. But on the other hand, they're really busy. They don't have time to sit there in the class spending hours and hours and hours analyzing the data, just to be frank. I'm in 3 doctoral programs. I'm busy too. So I know how hard it is to do the analysis of this material and really come down to a decision. But what I'm giving you here are kind of what are the basics to really stay stabilized, do well, and not change places for decision four, but unless you want to, but not have those radical changes. Say, let's stabilize. And where you see you're overspending against the white line, you just have to match it. And that's by adjusting your sliders. And then also going back to CapEx. I had one question about cash flow, and why aren't our parameters doing better from blue team that said, is there a process that I'm missing? Yeah, the process and I looked through all of their financials and talked to them about how they were making the decisions. The process that they were missing is iterating. You have to make a decision, jump to your cash on corporate, jump back to the sliders, look at engineering, make that, jump back to your cash, especially your cash and your CapEx, and see what are you spending on capacity and what's happening to your cash flows. I had one team and I'll get accused of intervening here, but I had to, that over-engineered to the point where the cash flow was negative. So it would not validate. So I had to jump in and we had to go over some parameters and some things. I wasn't telling them how to win the sim but I was telling them how to better spend their cash. And I posted that. I try to post it in messages so that everybody has the same message so it's fair. But you have access to me. So through the whole sim, if you want, I know I'm getting a lot of questions about sync versus async. I'll take 1 second on that question because I do have instructors here. What I found not only in my teaching over, you know, decades and also all my own studies is that every course needs a synchronous component. Whether it's an instructor that says, here's my home number, call me, here's my text, whatever, what I do with everybody, all my classes. I don't care if I'm up in the middle of the night talking to a student, I'm here for you. So you need that aspect. If your instructor's somebody that grades and you get a message and that's it, like an async, or you're studying and you're saying, I'm so busy, I can go get my degree here, I'm going to get my MBA, but I'm going to do it at the last Tuesday at midnight before Wednesday starts, or the last Sunday before Monday starts, wherever it starts. Um, then you're not going to get the experience. And if this sort of, I consider it not very moral, frankly, to say participation means you have 7 of these and you clicked 8 of those and then they're on the day before the last day and you put a comment in and then cited APA on it. You're not really interacting with your teammates. You might say, yes, hi, I loved you, that was good, but you have to have a sync component. And I see this frankly in 3 different doctoral programs. In one, there's completely async. You never see the professor. They give you a grade and you do your best and you throw a few kind of phony responses because you're not really interacting with you like them, but you're not really interacting with them. You're kind of doing all your other stuff and then doing your work, putting your assignments in. And this is okay if you're working like we all are, and we all have day jobs and we're very busy. Sometimes sync doesn't work, but there's my Purdue program, it's interesting because they have both. It's mostly async and you can work on your own, and they are all working adults, but we also have required syncs, where you have a Zoom that's involved like once a week with the instructor, and it's of course it's voluntary because everybody, I mean, in this sim I have someone who's a ground student who's never done anything like this, another one who's in a contributor who's in Germany, all of them doing fantastic, but having a Zoom and connecting is difficult. So, but it's still crucial if you want to get the teamwork experience that you have in the real world in business. And that's why this sim is different. It's a different kind of course, but by the end of it, you've really connected with one or more of your teammates and seen what it's like to have a live experience and make the decisions based on data. So the ultimate, I can teach my data science class till the skies turn bright green, and it's still not going to be the same as doing a sim where you actually see data science. You have to work with the data, make decisions based on the data. And life is also a stream of data like this. So we're going to have to make all our decisions based on that. And we're also going to be dealing with uncertainty and incomplete information, whether it's incomplete because the information's not there or because we just didn't have time to check it all out and we're missing some things. So that's the real essence of data science. It's not just the visualizations and knowing how to crunch them and do some quick metrics on it. It's also the ability to know what data to use most efficiently to make your decisions. What are the major weighted drivers of your decisions? And in this case, it's got a lot to do with customer and competitor reactions, lost orders over inventory, and then your individual decisions that you make in your budgets and on the sliders. So without further ado, I thank you very much. Stop my screen share here. And as always, if you have any questions, you have any issues, you have my text, you got my phone number, call me. Team members call me all the time. And this isn't just to, I'm getting tons of, yeah, okay, all right, enough. Um, this is also my varsity nerdy, my other classes. I have folks on that are studying data visualization. How can I get into the sim? It's like, well, we can maybe do a sim separately for some of you folks, but this is an actual class we're teaching, giving feedback to. So it is important in your data visualization, data science life to get to the point where you do actually make decisions based on these kind of metrics because you're going to do that in your real job and your real life. You know, whether in finance, marketing, wherever you go, it's going to be key to tie those visuals and into the decisions and say which ones are important, which aren't. So yeah, we'll try to work out a sim for some of you folks too. But in the meantime, it's at this particular stream, it's finals time, and we're looking at a big break, and yeah, so we'll be doing a lot of work on economic math modeling for exams and how to either take the test or how to create the test so that it's fair. Anyway, I appreciate you, and we will see you for decision 4. Bye bye.